Hey guys, welcome back to Gretchen's Bakery. You can't be sick of pumpkin yet, are you? I mean, I would probably eat pumpkin stuff all year round. So for all the pumpkin lovers, I know you're with me. How about pumpkin cinnamon rolls with cream cheese icing? Very easy to make. Basically a spin-off of my original cinnamon buns recipe. So if you guys don't love pumpkin and you want to just make traditional cinnamon buns, absolutely. I still have all the recipes over at GretchensBakery.com. But for the pumpkin lovers, let's get started.
Okay, so what you will need for the bun dough is flour, pumpkin, all the pumpkin pie spices, a bit of salt. I also have some baking powder and baking soda here, dry yeast, any oil of your choice, and I'm using just regular vegetable oil, sugar and milk, and of course I am using almond milk, and that is at about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, just slightly warm. Sprinkle the yeast over the milk and let it stand for about 5 minutes. You will pretty much get all the dry ingredients into the mixer bowl and give it a spin to incorporate evenly. Next, add the oil and the milk with that yeast in there, and then let it mix on low speed just to incorporate, and then give it some help from time to time since that flour is going to want to stay on the sides of the bowl and the dough hook seems like it needs some help getting it all mixed in evenly. If you do not have a stand mixer, you can do all of this by hand. You will get a workout, but it is not impossible. And don't forget to add the pumpkin. After all, these are pumpkin cinnamon buns. Let it mix on low speed for about 5 minutes, and every so often scrape the bottom and the sides to give it some help, and flip the dough around a little bit to help it mix in evenly. After 5 minutes, if you find that you still have a very sticky dough like you see here that's just not really coming together, you can add a bit more flour. This is probably the hardest part about making yeast and bread doughs, is that it's never an exact thing. Based on your environment and the way that you measure your ingredients, there is always a small window of adjustments, especially when it comes to the flour. So try to see the way that my dough looks here. It's not too sticky, but it's not too tough either. Actually, if you have to go one way or the other, I would prefer that you go on the stickier side. A tough dough with too much flour is really hard to come back from. This will give you a better visual of the condition of my dough, so on a lightly floured surface, dump out that dough. You can see that it is still super soft, super sticky, and it sort of wants to blob out over the table, kind of like when I eat too much cake and I want to lay on the couch. So this is your opportunity to add a bit more flour and really get the feel for this dough. Oh, I love playing with dough. It is so satisfying. But as you see, I am still not adding a ton of flour, just enough so that it's not sticking to my hands or the table anymore. Transfer it to a lightly oiled bowl and then let it rest in a warm spot for about an hour or until it seems to have almost doubled in size. Once that happens, you will turn it back out onto a lightly floured surface and then gently press out those gases from the yeast. I am pressing it out to a rectangle shape, and I really barely need the help of a rolling pin since this dough is really easy to work with, but I do use one just to help me get it to about 12 inches by 18 inches in size, and that will be probably about a ½ an inch thick of dough. Next, brush the entire dough surface with coconut oil, or any oil of your choice really, and for you non-vegans, of course, you will use butter. I have a mixture of brown sugar, white sugar, cinnamon, and a pinch of nutmeg that I am spreading generously over the entire surface of this dough. Roll it up and then cut out 12 equal portions. Yes, these are jumbo buns, so of course you can cut that log into more pieces and get more portions as you wish. I just love me a gigundo cinnamon bun. I think it brings me back to my bakery days. Place them evenly onto a lightly sprayed sheet pan, no parchment paper, and then cover them again and let them rise in a warm spot. It should only take about 30 minutes to maybe an hour. It really depends on how warm your spot is. But once they have gotten nice and puffy and fluffy, I like to use a double sheet pan when I bake them. These giant buns take longer to bake, and I want to make sure that they don't get over browned on the bottom. Bake them in a preheated 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for About 25 to maybe 45 minutes. It's hard to say because I don't know how big your buns are, but I do like to check them by pulling away a piece of the bun to make sure that there is no raw dough still in the middle. And you will see that the tops are nice and golden browned. Cool them just slightly and then pile on that cream cheese icing. And then make sure you call your friends because these things are dangerous. Just look at how tender and soft these buns are. I actually ate 3 of them all by myself and then realized I had to get these out of the house pronto or I would have finished this entire pan by the next morning. I do hope you will try them. They are super easy to make just by following a few of the tips that I mentioned here. I know you're going to love them, so be sure to grab the recipe at Gretchen'sBakery.com. If you liked this video, don't forget to give me a like and also subscribe here to my channel for more of the best recipes. Alright guys, thanks for the support. I will see you again really soon. Happy baking and happy pumpkins!